everyone, welcome to your yoga practice. We're going to focus on the entire body for this one. It's a 50-minute class. You may or may not need some props. You will definitely need some water. And if you have a quiet space that you can work in, awesome. Let's get started. I'm going to begin the practice in a child's pose. So taking the knees as wide as it feels comfortable for you, reaching the arms out in front of you, and sinking your pelvis in between your heels. If you notice my phone in the video, it's there so that I can keep track of how long we hold our poses for. You're going to make your way up into a tabletop position. You can turn the hands back and then start a journey through cat-cow. Do 2-3 rounds or even more than what I'm doing in this video. Articulating in the spine, working into the shoulders, the pelvis, so starting to get mobile in the major joints. Resetting the hands about shoulder distance apart and then tracking the hips back for downward facing dog. We'll take a breath here just to settle into the foundation. And then lowering the knees to the mat, setting up for toe stand. Tucking all 10 toes under. Interlace the fingers in front of the chest. As you exhale, press the palms out in front of you. Inhale, draw the arms up toward the sky. Exhale, bring the arms down. So doing a seated cat-cow variation here. I'm recording right now without actually practicing, so I'm moving fast. Bear with me if you need to look up at the recording, just do that. But the focus here is on opening up into the toes, the ankles, and also starting to mobilize into the spine and into the shoulders. Go ahead, coming down onto the shins and reset. So if it helps to either tap out the feet or lift the knees up, great. I'm going to set up for flying integration. We've got 3 sets. So pressing into the arms, into the hands, and then lifting the knees up towards the chest. Try to keep your hips low. Compressing into the front of the body. We're going to do 3 here. Again, lifting up on the exhale breath, holding, and then lowering it down. Taking a breath, and then your last round, lifting up, compress. Feel activation in the triceps. Try to pull your knees together. Hold on, you're almost there, and release. Take any type of stretch or any type of movement to release the wrists and the arms. And taking the hands down to the floor when you're ready, coming back into downward facing dog. Exploring movement, pedaling out the feet, anything that comes natural to you here. And then roll the spine forward into a high plank. And then articulate the spine as you roll back, downward dog. Do that 2-3 more times. You can use my voice as a reference, or you can keep your eyes up on the screen every now and again. Just check in to make sure where I am and where you are, and try not to get too stuck in moving in a certain way. Get free, get fluid, get buoyant. And then coming into a high plank, feeling your core strength, smiling. I don't know why I'm smiling. I'm holding plank. Engaging the quadriceps, the glutes. Again, smiling, no idea why. I'm smiling at you. I'm watching this as I'm recording my voice, so it's quite a unique experience. All right, I'm lowering the knees to the mat. You got 10 push-ups, guys. So go slow, go fast. Modify, don't modify. Nice and easy, nice and slow. I want you to feel the tension. I want you to feel the resistance of gravity here. And then downward facing dog once you're done. Cinch in the front lower ribs. Inhale the right leg to the ceiling. And the knee comes forward to the chest. Step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Lower the left knee to the mat. Come into a low lunge variation. This is our warm-up sequence. Smile. you're not feeling much, then just part the feet even more. We're going to take a twist here to warm up for the rest of the sequence. So circle the right arm up to the ceiling. Get any variation that comes to you. If you want to roll to the knife edges of your feet, you're going to come up onto the left fingertips. If you want to even take the left hand off the floor just to really work into the core a little bit more, these are all options for you. Take it into half splits. Every now and again, I just do this little peek up at the camera to make sure the actual camera is still recording and to just smile at you. All right, let's take it back into a down dog split position, so the right leg goes up to the ceiling again. Downward facing dog, both feet are down. Left leg lifts up, inhale. And then the knee comes up towards the chest and step the foot to the outside of your hand. Again, that low lunge shape. So again, it's completely up to you whether or not you take a shorter stance or a longer stance. If you take a longer stance, obviously you're going to feel a little bit more into the hips. If you push in a little bit harder into the toes of the back foot, you might even feel more in the hip flexor. Circle up into your twist. You're going to start to get curious about activation in your body here. So the triceps even here can be engaged. Lifting the lower belly to get core strength. And then half splits as you check the hips back. And as we warm up the body, it's just an invitation to gather information, to see where we're at in our practice, in our movement. Set it back up for down dog split. And then downward facing dog as you settle into that foundation again. Coming forward into your high plank, coming down into a low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog, pushing the mat away, downward dog. Take the hips back. And you step the left foot forward, followed by the right foot. Come into an active squat position. That awkward little smile, knowing that we're probably going to be here for 20 to 30 seconds. That's again why I have the phone there, so I can make sure I'm holding us all accountable to doing the hard work. Sink your hips lower, see if you can reach your arms up higher, lift the triceps in line with your ears. So work on that range of motion there. Release tension in your jaw. Hands to the heart center, standing up. Inhale, circle the arms overhead, big stretch. Take the hands down to the floor, forward folds. Come up halfway on a breath in, and then step or hop back into a low push-up. Inhale to your upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Allowing yourself to breathe or take moments to pause. And take the right leg up to the ceiling. Coming into one of our first standing sequences. So knee towards the chest. Compress into the front of the body. Step the right big toe towards the right thumb, or the pinky toe towards the thumb rather. Come into warrior two. So again, peeking down at that timer. We're going to be here for about 20 to 30 seconds. And then taking the left hand down to the floor, coming into Vashisthasana, side plank. So I'm doing my variation. You can take a peek and you can either integrate that or do you. You can bring a knee to the floor. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff here. Reach overhead, reach to the sky. But we're going to transition slowly. So bring your knee to your elbow and then step the right foot back to the top of the mat, warrior two. Come into side angles. So not quite warrior two, almost there. The fingertips are just slightly in front of the toes. Reaching overhead, or like the arm is right by the ear. See if you can hover the bottom arm, the right arm off the floor or off the hand. And then reach back into reverse warrior as you deepen the lunge into the right knee again. Setting up for Trichonasana, straighten both legs, reaching forward. And we're going to do an unsupported triangle pose here, so really charging up into the side body and into the core. Engage the quadriceps, ground into your feet. Soften into the jaw. Draw the right hip back. And then coming back up into reverse warrior. Taking your time. Settle in. And then circle both hands down to the floor. Come into a three-pointed plank, so keep the right foot hovering off the mat. Come into a three-pointed low plank. Place the foot down, come into an upward facing dog. Big smile. And then downward facing dog. Exhale. Left leg extends. Knee again comes up towards the chest. Compress into the hip flexor, into the front of the body. Linger just for a few seconds. And step the pinky toe to the thumb. Come into Virabhadrasana 2. So full expression. Between 15 and 20 seconds. Lengthen into the sides of your neck. Try to set your drishti, your eyes, on a still point. Don't be like me, I'm looking around. You do you. All right, nice slow transition to side plank. So the right hand comes down to the floor. Your variation. Make it easier, make it a little spicier. Embrace the instability. Again, and that journey back into that side angle position is going to be nice and slow. So you're going to start with bringing your knee to your elbow. And then see if you can count down from 5 to step the big toe to the top of the mat as you set up for side angle. So a warrior 2 base. The fingertips are slightly in front of your toes. You circle the right arm overhead. Challenge yourself by lifting the fingertips off the floor. Activation in the back leg. So press down deep into the left heel as you reach back into reverse warrior. I'm jippoing on that lunge, so if you can, bend into your left knee a little bit more. Set up for Trichonasana, straighten both of your legs, reaching forward to your end range, and then both arms extend. So you notice I'm drawing my left hip back a lot. You can push your pelvis forward and lean your spine back slightly. Turn the right ribs up towards the ceiling to deepen the twist in the upper back. Hips are strong, legs are strong, is your foundation. Reach back into reverse warrior just to lengthen out. And then take the hands down to the floor. Come back into that 3-pointed plank. Take it down, exhale into your low plank. Linger, put the foot down, upward dog. Oh, big smile. And downward facing dog. Exhale. Allow yourself to take 2 to 3 deep breaths here. In through the nose, out through the mouth perhaps. Soften into the jaw. You're going to part your feet about mat width distance. And come into a twist here. Take the right hand to the outside edge of the left ankle. So you're going to feel the rotation more into the rib cage, into the upper back. And then switching sides. Again, focus the range of motion in the upper back, not so much the lower back. And then slowly make your way back into downward facing dog. Settle into a neutral base. Plant into the hands, plant into the feet. Send the tailbone up to the sky. Maybe one more big breath in to a high plank. And you're going to hover your hips back over your heels. Exhale. I'm going to do that a few more times. High plank. Hover your hips back. High plank. Hover your hips back. I think it's 2 more. High plank. Hover. High plank. Hover. And if I know me, we're holding this last one. So stay here, breathe, high plank, and downward facing dog. Great way to warm up the quads. Right leg to the ceiling. Keep stretching. Now knee to the chest. Find the same compression in the hip and the front of the body. Step the foot in between the hands. We're going to set up for Crescent Lunge this time. And obviously such a big, big smile. Lunge. Bend into the right knee more. Firm up into the back leg. Push out into the back heel. Lengthen into the sides of your neck. You can take the arms out to the sides and then come into a twist. Unsupported twist. So you're just going to angle your torso towards the right side of your mat. See if you can lunge deeper into the right knee. Push out harder into the back heel. You also want to push down into the right heel. All right, coming back into a neutral position with the spine coming forward into revolved half moon. So the transition's tricky. If you need to change the placement of your foot, go ahead. Make this a little bit harder by taking the left hand off the floor, perhaps. Make it a little bit easier by taking the right hand to the low back. Or make this just super tough and hover both hands and just twist. Lift the belly. And then come back into Crescent Lunge. Slow. Always the transitions, you want to slow them down. You want to bring some awareness to the way you move from pose to pose. Not here for very long. We're going to come into side lunge, Skandasana, to the back of your mat. So bending your left knee. Hands can either go on the floor and to the hips, to the heart center. If you have space in front of you, reach them out in front. That's always a little bit more challenging. Lift the lower belly to protect the low back. You can do a little pulse, a little bounce. Apparently I'm having a great time. And then take the hands to the top of the mat and come into standing splits. We're going to do a little bit of a bind, so take the right hand to the left foot. If you bring your belly closer to your right thigh, you'll feel a deeper stretch into the hamstring. Please know that all of these things are just suggestions. At the end of the day, this is your practice, and you do what is most suitable, most applicable for you in this moment, in this time in your practice. Never forcing. Okay, so we're going to actually come into a little core sequence. So step the left foot to the back of the mat. Bring your right heel towards your right glute. And then lower the shin towards the floor and lift it back up. We're just going to do that 5 times. So if none of that made sense, just look at me. Follow along. Up and down. And then come into Fallen Star. And from Fallen Star, we're going to get a little cray-cray here. So you're going to bring your knee to your elbow. Again, look at me if you're not sure what the verbiage or the verbal cues are. But you're going to take that foot and step it to the top of your mat. Nice and slow. So look at the screen if you need to. Step to the top of the mat. That's your left foot. You're going to come into half moon now, lifting your right foot up. So whenever my vocal cues, my verbal cues are not making too much sense and your head is buried in your mat, just take a peek up at the demonstration on the screen to get back on track. So we're going to actually take this into a series of different single leg balances. So shrimp squat, tuck that right knee in behind your calf and then come back up into half moon. Again, shrimp squat, so the hands are off the floor if you can, into half moon. Shrimp squat, linger at the bottom, find your end range, and then open back up into a half moon. Again, shrimp squat. If you fall out, it's okay. And then open it up half moon. And then from half moon, see if you can reach both of your arms forward and come into a slow transition into warrior 2, right into reverse warrior. And taking both of your hands down to the floor, you're going to come into a 3-pointed plank. But this time, we're going to take the right hand off the floor. So your left foot is lifted and your right hand is lifted. Holding. Last 3, 2, high plank into your flow. Meet me in downward facing dog. If you're looking at the screen, I've got quite the facial expressions. All right, come forward, high plank. Hover your hips back over your heels. High plank. Hover your hips back. High plank. Hover your hips back. High plank. Hover your hips back. Last one. Hover your hips and we hold it for at least 4, 3, 2, high plank into downward facing dog. And take a breath. When you're ready, take your left leg up towards the ceiling. Bring the knee to the chest. Find activation and compression and set up for Crescent Lunge. So without anticipating what's coming next, can you be fully aware and fully present in this moment? And what can you bring to this experience? Soften your jaw. Create some space in your mind, some space in your heart. Reaching the arms out wide and come into that unsupported twist. So yes, it is challenging, and yes, you may or may not be amazing at this pose, but what is it teaching you? Patience, acceptance, love and kindness. Or maybe it's mirroring your criticism and your judgments of yourself. Come into revolved half moon. Remain in the twist if possible. So again, the twist comes from the upper back into the rib cage. And keep the lower back as level as possible. There's a lot of instability here. So find the variation that works for you. Find the pose that challenges you the way you need to be challenged in this moment. And we're here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Start the journey back slowly into Crescent Lunge. Feel your feet on the floor. Set up for side lunge, Skandasana to the back of the mat. So that's your right knee bending. Maybe there's bounce, so maybe it's more dynamic or maybe it's more passive. You steer the ship. Ultimately, you decide what is best for you in this moment and what you need. And then taking the hands back to the top of the mat. Set up for standing splits. Bind is optional for you here, reaching for your foot. How much more can you straighten the left leg and engage into the left quadricep? And then coming into that little core sequence, set the right foot to the back of the mat. So just simply kick the left heel up towards the left glute. And then hover the left shin a couple of inches off the floor. And then lift it back up. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you can always just peek up at the screen and get a reference. Do that 5, 4, 3, 2, and last one, kick it out into Fallen Star. Now you're going to push down hard into the outer edge of that left foot and see if you can bring the right knee to the right elbow. Pretty cool, eh? You're going to step slowly, step that right foot to the top right corner of your mat. Come into half moon. I love this transition. Well, I do. I hope you do as well. Again, without anticipating what comes next, be in this moment and what can you bring to this experience that you're having right here, right now. I'd set up for shrimp squat, so closing the hips, hands off the floor if you can. Tuck the knee in behind the calf, and then half moon. So we do about 5 here, guys. You can follow along on the screen. You can do your own thing, nice and slow. Make sure you're not rushing it. Maybe you're doing 10 in the time that I do 5, or maybe you're doing 3 in the time that I do 5. I'm going to let you explore through the shrimp squat half moon sequence, and I'll give you a heads up when we're transitioning. Challenge your end range. And when you're ready, both arms are going to start to reach forward as you transition back into reverse warrior. Yeah, I'm happy about that. That was pretty tough. All right, we're going to come back into a 3-pointed plank. So right foot hovers and the left hand comes off the mat. I just told you got this in the video. I hope you witnessed that. But you seriously, you do. You have this. You have this. You can do this. You can do anything you put your mind to. You just need to step up to the occasion. Is that the right saying? I think so. We're still in the pose, guys. Hold it. 3, 2, 1. Do your vinyasa, and we'll meet in Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Little head shake there from me saying, yeah, right, this is tough. This is hard work. And knowing me, I'm probably going to keep going here. So round forward, high plank. Take it back, hover your hips, and high plank. Hover your hips, high plank. Take it back, high plank. Take it back, high plank, and hold it. And come forward, high plank. Feel the stability and the strength of your body. Come down into a forearm plank. And I just did a gesture at the camera saying, why not? Let's do it. We're in it. Why not? So we're going to be here for a little bit. So settle in. Settle in, friends. It's one reason why I enjoy doing the recording separate to the filming, because I can make the class really tough and I can do the class. So come up, back up, high plank. Oh, we're moving. And then cycle through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog is where we meet. Yeah, so I can make the class really hard and not sound out of breath. I can sound calm and soothing, which is what I like. All right, downward facing dog. Linger for a bit. Hang out. Take a few deep breaths. You're going to step or hop forward. Come into an active squat. See if you can sink your hips just a little bit lower. Chase the end range with your arms. And then bring the hands slowly down towards the heart center as you straighten the legs and stand up. Take a moment here to arrive. Just with your hands to your heart center. If you press your thumbs up against your chest, you can feel your heartbeat, you can feel your breath. And you know that in this moment you are here. And you are here in this moment. Take the arms up to the ceiling. Inhale. Bring the hands down to the heart center. Exhale. We're going to come into a standing balancing series. Bring the right knee up towards the chest. Interlace the fingers behind the back. You can take any other variation with the arms that you need. You're going to come into a variation of Warrior 3. So kicking the right leg behind you when you're ready as you angle the torso forward. Try to keep the hips level. Working with a straight leg position on the left leg, so engage into the left quadricep. You're pulling your body in opposite direction here. Crown of the head forward, back toes back, lifting the belly. Make sure you're breathing. Soften your jaw. Coming back up to stand. Reaching both arms overhead. Come into figure 4, but we're going to reach the arms overhead for this one. So I want you to work on straightening the elbows so that you can get more from your triceps. Triceps and biceps working together to help stabilize the elbow. Soften the jaw. Bring the weight back into the left heel and see if you can bring the hips lower. And then bring the hands around the right shin as you come back up to stand. Just linger for a couple of seconds here. And then set the right foot down to the floor. Come into chair pose. So the feet are now a little bit closer together, not touching just yet, about hip width distance. Upper back should be feeling it right now. Reaching the arms up. And take the hands to the heart center, straighten the legs. Again, take a moment to arrive, to be here, to feel your body in this space. Take the arms up towards the ceiling, big breath in. And exhale, take them down. Switching legs. Interlace the hands, bring the left knee up towards the chest. When you smile, things just feel better. So try it on. If you're having a hard day, if people are annoying you, if you're annoying you, if the smallest little thing is just agitating you, try smiling right now. Or don't. I mean, geez, that's actually even more annoying when last thing you feel like doing is smiling and someone tells you to smile, smile, smile. Like, nah, I don't want to. You don't have to. Still in the pose, guys. Breathe. Lift the belly, lift the lower ribs. Instability is good. Bring the knee up. So set up for your figure four. Again, the arms are going to extend overhead. Weight back over that right heel. Reaching your arms up is not easy, so it's not supposed to be easy in case you're wondering. And if it is easy, you're not doing it right. And bring the hands around the shin. Find deeper hip flexion by drawing the thigh up. Press the crown of your head to the ceiling. Give yourself a little winky wink. I just gave you a wink. If you missed that, you'll have to rewind it to see it. It was pretty cute. And again, Utkatasana, feet hip width distance apart. You can do anything you put your mind to. Remember that. That is definitely something that is coming out to play in my life right now. Anything you put your mind to, you can accomplish it. But the question is, can you be patient? Forward fold, friends. Exhale. Interlace the hands behind the back. Pull the arms away from the spine. Can you be patient to let things unfold? Can you trust the divine timing of your life? Come into a halfway lift. Inhale. And then step or hop back into your flow. We'll meet in downward dog. I'm going to take the right knee up towards the ceiling. You can bend into the knee, open up into the hip if that feels good for you. And then coming forward, bring the right knee to the back of the right tricep. And then step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Lower the left knee to the mat. Circle the right arm back and reach for the left foot. If you can't quite reach for your foot, you can always use a strap. You can also make this a little more active by reaching for your foot but not actually grabbing it. So you're working on activation of the hamstring to bring the heel in towards the glute. Many different variations here. And then releasing it, we're going to set up for half splits or full splits. You decide. Good time to check in with your breath. And maybe it's not doing anything with it, it's just observing it. In and out. Subconscious action of breathing. It's always there for you. Your life force. Okay, bending into the right knee here, lifting up through the left knee. We're going to take an extended lunge. So just heel toe or bring the right foot further towards the front of your mat. And then I want you to reach the hands out to the top corners of your mat. Come up into the fingertips or press into the palms. You decide what's best for you. But this should feel like you are pushing yourself. You are pulling yourself just a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And this should not be easy. At this point, things are shaking. Things are moving. Things are bubbling to the surface. And then planting the hands underneath the shoulders, take it back into a high plank. You always have the option to flow or not. I'm going to bring it back into a dolphin and actually bring it into some shoulder work. So do this if it's appropriate. Take a peek at the screen if you need a demonstration. But essentially what you're going to do is from dolphin, you're going to come forward into a high plank, lifting both elbows at the same time. But you can do that slowly. So again, you're going to lower both elbows, forearms to the mat, dolphin, and then come forward, high plank. Please do this mindfully, shoulders or elbows down, dolphin, and come forward, high plank. Downward facing dog, or your flow if you want. So you're going to take the left leg up, open up into the left hip, and bring the knee to the back of the tricep. Without lifting the palm, step the left foot to the outside of your hand. Backstroke with your left arm as you reach for your right foot. I want you to notice your reaction to your practice. Does it feel good? Are there moments that you feel discouraged? Are there moments that you feel grateful, moments you feel centered, grounded? Half splits. Notice if you're feeling present or if you're feeling restless. If you're somewhere else or if you're here doing this. And then notice your surrounding. Notice if you have kids running around or if your partner is yelling at you from the kitchen, "Hey honey, do we have food?" You're like, "Are you serious? I'm in my practice." Set up for your extended lunge. So move your foot forward. Challenge yourself. Do what you haven't done before. Take the hands out in front of you. Balance on the pinkies or the fingertips, not the pinkies, the fingertips. Fun activation. Keep the chest up. Keep the chest open. Avoid dropping the gaze, or try to keep the gaze forward at the very least. Broaden the collarbone. Push out the back heel. Let yourself feel the intensity of this. Take the hands back. And then we're going into that dolphin again. So lowering both forearms, both elbows to the mat. And you can option to just stay in dolphin or do this exercise. So come forward, high plank, both elbows up at the same time. Lower your forearms, your elbows down for dolphin. Come forward into plank. And you have one more, both elbows down at the same time. I find it helpful to bend my knees in doing that. Transition back into dolphin when I bend my knees. It just kind of brings my center of gravity lower and I just feel more supported. And then coming forward, high plank, stabilizing the shoulders, and coming down all the way onto your stomach. Setting up for Cobra pose. So planting into the tops of your feet. My hands are quite far back. I enjoy that. So the wrists are stacked under the elbows. You could bring the hands forward a little bit more, but you want to push down into the pubic bone, and it's almost like this feeling of lifting the lower belly off the mat. I'm going to come into locust, so the legs hover and the arms reach back. There's a lot of tricep engagement. There's a lot of activation in the back body here. We are asking a lot of our back chain in this moment. The hamstrings, the glutes, the triceps, the spinal extensors, they are all working against what we do from day to day, which is hunched forward. So it's normal for this to feel really intense. You can stay in this pose or join me in Dhanurasana, floor bow. Again, big pose. It's a lot to ask of the body to go against the grain of what we do day to day. We're hunched over computers, cell phones, desks, children, and also just the natural process of aging. Just hunching in, we're rounding in. So it's normal for this to be intense. Release it slowly. We're going to go into a plank pose, guys, just to stabilize the spine again. So dig into the toes, lift the kneecaps, engage the thighs, and then push up when you're ready. You can do that with the knees down if you need to. And then bring it back into a dolphin. Wow. I got one more for you. Dolphin. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to either hang out in dolphin, or you're going to join me for Pashimotonasana prep, or you can go into forearm balance. So tippy toe your toes as close to your triceps as you can. Lift up really, really high into your tippy toes, and then bring the right heel to the right glute. And then set the foot down, and then switch left heel to left glute. And you want to be high, high, high onto your right toes. And this is very, very intense. Really difficult for me. Stay high on your tippy toes. It feels like things are falling apart, but you are doing just fine. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and release your knees to the mat. Take the hips over your heels, sink back into a child's pose, but reach the arms down beside your legs. You can roll your head from side to side to massage out into the forehead, or just simply release into the back of your neck. And then bring the hands forward. Come into a tabletop to transition into downward facing dog. And we're going to actually come down to seated, to come down onto your back for a series of supine back bends. Starting with little bridge. If you're looking at the screen and you're like, what is she doing? I'm just making sure that my camera is actually filming and that it didn't turn off. So you want to have the action of trying to pull your heels towards your shoulders to activate the hamstrings. There's also sensation of driving your knees into something, so your inner thighs into something to engage the adductors. And release down. Not here for too long. We're going to either keep moving into bridge or set up for Urdhva Dhanurasana. When you're ready, press into the hands, press into the feet, and come in. We've got 3 of these bad boys lined up, 10 seconds per. So we're here for another 5, 4, 3, 2, tucking your chin, and when you're ready, slowly lower your way down onto the mat. Give yourself a big breath to reset. Number 2, press into your hands, press into your feet, stabilize into the shoulders and into the pelvis, and you're up. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come on down. Again, a breath, so the recovery isn't too long in between. Last one, number 3, pressing up. Holding it here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Coming down onto your back and just taking a moment to let the spine settle in and rest. And when you're ready, you begin to lower the knees from side to side very slowly. And transitioning in your own way back up to downward facing dog. Maybe even coming into a high plank or even a cat-cow, seated twist on the way back to assist the spine in neutralizing. Any movement you need to help relieve any tenderness in your back. So if you were watching the video, I was doing a lot of cat-cow seated or in the all fours position. We're going to eventually move into half pigeon if you're not there already with me. Option to keep it simple and just to keep the hands on the floor, maybe even just lay down. Or reaching the right hand for the left foot. Experimenting with what feels good in your body. And then eventually settling into a shape that you can sustain and become quiet in. And become grounded in. Reflecting on your time on your mat. Things bubble to the surface, emotions, feelings, ideas. And then when you're ready, we're going to trace it back into downward facing dog. If you are craving a flow in between the two sets, please go ahead. It's always your practice. It's what you need when you step onto this mat. That is what is the most important. Setting up for half pigeon on the left side, and again, keeping it simple, so you do you, or if you want to add a little bit of a different kind of stretch, reaching for your back foot. And wherever you find yourself, I'm sure it is exactly what you need. And so releasing the expectation that I should be doing something else, or I should be more flexible, or I should be this and should be that. And one of my biggest teachers, Chelsea Chorus, she said this in her podcast the other day. When are we going to stop shoulding on ourselves? Stop shouldn't-ing. You should be doing what you're doing, and you are doing what you need to be doing in this moment of time in your life. Everything you need and everything you are is in alignment with where it's supposed to be. We're going to take it back into downward facing dog. Again, one more vinyasa. If you are craving it, lingering perhaps in the upward facing dog. And then also taking a moment in down dog to appreciate the mobility and the strength of your body, and then coming down into seated when you are ready. Coming into Pashimotonasana, both legs extend forward. Try not to overthink this pose. I feel like we have this tendency as human beings to overanalyze things, and things need to be done a certain way, and we need to follow the people in front of us or before us, and maybe we just need to simplify it and do what is appropriate in this moment and base it off of our own experience. It's very empowering. When you're ready, we're going to come back up to seated and then start to lay down on your back. Set up for a supine twist. So I extend one leg forward and then I bring my bent knee over. It's completely up to you how you twist. Again, what is suitable for you in this moment. I do tend to have a tight mid-back region, so twists have always felt a little tender in my spine. You can switch sides whenever you're ready. So the key for me is to just accept that feedback and work with it. So not pushing it or forcing anything, but rather with breath and with time and with lots of practice to slowly move into a deeper stretch or deeper variation of the pose. And it's all based off of sensation. And when you're ready, you can bring just your knees into your chest. Simple act of just laying here. If you want to go into halasana or shoulder stand, please go ahead, or even finish with headstand if that is in your practice. Something that can offer you some space and some time to just settle and be as we unwind and close off this practice together. Coming into Shavasana when you are ready, and giving yourself permission to take up space. If you have a lot of sound, a lot happening around you in your area, in your house, in the space that you're practicing, can you take a moment to acknowledge it, identify it? Voices, people talking, cracks in the wall, the foundation. Maybe you're at work. You can hear through the walls of your office, or maybe you're outside. You take a moment to really take in the surroundings and notice your reaction to those surroundings and to those sounds and to those sensations. What you hear, what you smell, what you see if your eyes are open, what you can touch. And without criticism, without judgment, without expectation, can you give yourself permission to be here? And maybe you take a deep inhale through your nose and a long sigh out of your mouth. And perhaps, and just maybe, through this practice, through this mindfulness, through this time spent on your mat, you feel just a little bit lighter, more grounded, more centered, more aware, more mindful, maybe even more grateful. And my hope is that you feel a strong body, a resilient body, a body that can persevere, and a body that can support you. And I hope that that translates or transmits into your mind, to the ability of your mind to persevere, to hold strong, to hold on. Thank yourself for this time. Acknowledge this practice, this space. And thank you for showing up today. And thank you for practicing with me. It was my honor, it was my pleasure to guide you. Namaste.